Good morning and welcome to this edition of The Mint on ZTN. My name is Blessing MUNATSI. Of course, we start with the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, African markets and global markets, commodities as well as metals from across the globe. Now we start, of course, with a trending story, the issue of the coronavirus that has been impacting on business. And yesterday afternoon, Zimbabwe declared the coronavirus pandemic a national disaster, with President Emmerson Mnangagwa announcing a host of measures that the country is putting in place to curb the spread of the virus in the event that it does hit the Southern African nation. Now, despite Zimbabwe yet to register any confirmed positive cases, government has taken a proactive stance, with public events and gatherings of more than 100 people being put on hold. Addressing the media at State House, President Mnangagwa said the Zimbabwe International Trade Fair, the ZITF, that was slated for Bulawayo in April had been cancelled, and the same applies for the country's independence celebrations, while the international sporting activities have also been affected. While discouraging travel from affected countries, the president also announced that the country was closing small ports of entry until further notice, while major ports of entry remain open but with scaled up screening. Now, this of course follows the announcement that was made in South Africa over the weekend, and the World Health Organization has warned that the coronavirus pandemic is a defining global health crisis of our time, and it is urging countries to test all suspected cases. South Africa has recorded the highest level of COVID-19 infections in the Southern African region, with 62 reported cases since its outbreak as at 17 March 2020. Now, experts say the coronavirus outbreak has taken a heavy toll on the South African economy. Growth is expected to contract by 1.5% in the first 3 months as the virus threatens two of its main sources of income, that's mining and tourism. A report issued by a subsidiary of auditing firm PricewaterhouseCoopers further stresses that Chinese markets' capacity to absorb South African metal production. It said every year South Africa exports an equivalent of 450 million euros worth of iron, manganese and chromium ores to China. The announcement, 1% decline in Chinese growth, could result in a reduction in demand for South African raw materials. This comes a few weeks after South Africa announced that it had entered recession in the fourth quarter of last year, the second in 2 years. Now, South Africa has so far closed 35 borders and 2 sea ports of entry, and proper hygiene practices have been advised. President Cyril Ramaphosa, in an address on Sunday, announced that the number of cases stood at 61. He outlined the harsh economic impact of the virus, citing tourism and mining sector, and South Africa has also repatriated and quarantined 121 citizens from Wuhan, the epicenter of the virus. Schools have been suspended and universities are likely to follow suit. Social gatherings have also been banned and visa cancelled for persons coming from high-risk countries. Now, the JSE's all-share index started the week with an instant loss of 8% as global panic selling intensified after the announcement, and last week the JSE lost 15% of its value and suffered 2 of its biggest crashes in 40 years. The JSE's all-share index started this week lower by more than 6%, and Sasol started the week week, 15% down after briefly dipping below the 30 rand mark last week. And mining and financial stocks have also not been spared. The country has been battling with economic crisis for nearly 10 years, from a sluggish growth, deteriorating public finances, mass unemployment to power outages, and is surely to face more challenges due to the pandemic. Now, in our second story, the Zimbabwe National Statistical Agency, Zimstat, has announced the year-on-year inflation for the first time in 12 months, putting it at 540.2% in February 2020, amid a weak exchange rate. Now, the continued levels of inflation have been impacting the increase in prices of fuel, basic commodities, as well as school fees. The financial services sector has also been affected, with some banks closing branches. Now, since the press statement issued by Zimstat in February 2019, the exchange rate became very unstable, triggering inflation. And as a result, the RTGS dollar is now at an average parallel market exchange of 1 to 38 RTGS, up from 1.21 to 2.5 RTGS that was in February 2019 last year. Recently, at the CZI Economic Outlook Symposium and the 2019 Manufacturing Sector Survey launch, the World Bank senior economist Stella Ilieva expressed a view that external demand will definitely be high in 2020. The depreciation of local currency, tackling price stability and reducing distortions in the foreign exchange market has also potential to significantly improve growth prospects. Now, inflation in Zimbabwe peaked at 300% in August 2019, making it the highest in the world, according to the IMF report. The continued unrestrained money supply growth is still a problem, which the Finance Ministry is trying to focus and curtail through various measures meant to stabilize the foreign exchange trading and exchange rates, and also inflation, including a broad-based task force. It will be interesting to see how the inflation goes after the Minister of Finance made those raft of measures last week. Now, Aliko Dangote, who's worth $15.7 billion, according to the Bloomberg Billionaires Index, has largely built his fortune by cornering Nigeria's cement market, is making his first forays into oil business with the wells and petrochemical plants. Group Executive Director Dangote Devakumar Edwin says Africa's richest man and prominent industrialist is working with Chinese and Malaysian contractors, and has also completed a development plan for the Kaluike field in its oil mining lease, a 72 asset. Work is expected to move to an undeveloped K1 discovery on Block 71, a small shallow water asset of southeastern Niger River Delta. These are the two assets that he acquired from Royal Dutch Shell PLC back in July. Edwin said the group is looking at the first phase of 20,000 barrels a day, with the objective being reaching 100,000 mark for the two blocks, and the group expects to do that in the next 12 to 15 months, as it is also doing the 3D seismic studies. Production from the fields will eventually feed a massive 650,000 barrels a day of oil refinery, and the 62-year-old Nigerian is currently constructing a swampy strip that's on the east of Lagos, the country's financial capital. Now, with the refinery, Dangote aims to help end Africa's large oil producer reliance on imported fuel. Now, the plant will reach a mechanical completion in December, and full operation is expected to start by mid-2021. The Dangote Group, which includes the Lagos-listed Dangote Cement PLC and 4 other publicly traded companies, account for about 1/5 of the value of the Nigerian bourse. The conglomerate is also adding about 10 million tons capacity of cement, with new plants in at least 5 countries, including Cameroon, the Côte d'Ivoire, Ghana, while boosting output in 2 of its Nigerian plants. It also set up 6 new integrated rice mills across the countries, with a capacity to process 1 million tons of paddy and 125,000 tons of sugar refinery. And the oil business will be a new source of income to the already fast expanding business empire that includes cement, flour and sugar firms. A very good story in terms of diversification there. Dangote managing to spread his risk across the FMCG, also mining, and also into food industry. Now, exploration and investment decisions currently underway in Mozambique. could make the Southern African country one of the 10 largest exporters of liquefied natural gas, that's LNG, within the next 10 years. And Claudio Descalzi, the CEO of Italian gas and oil company Eni, announced their final investment decision and says activity is targeted to begin in 2022, when 3 million tons of natural gas per year will travel in a liquefied state under the high seas. Several prospecting operations are being prepared after Mozambique granted licenses at the end of 2018, and Eni leads one consortium with 34% stake together with Qatar Petroleum 25.5%. South Africa's Sasol is also in there with 25.5%, and Mozambique state company ENH, that's Empresa Nacional de Hidrocarbonetos, with 15%. This consortium is prospecting an area in central Mozambique's Dangote district that's spanning 5,133 square kilometers with depths ranging between 300 and 1,800 meters. ExxonMobil holds half of another prospect consortium that's featuring Mozambican state company ENH with 20%, and Russia's Rosneft with another 20%, and Qatar Petroleum with 10%. Now on land, South Africa's Sasol will carry out prospect operations in Area PT5C, covering 3,000 square kilometers in the center of the country, from which it has already extracted 1.8 trillion cubic feet of natural gas since 2004, the majority largely directed, of course, to the South African via pipeline. In the same region, Sasol is pressing ahead with explorating Ihasoro reserves in order to produce 5,000 barrels of light oil per day. And Total CEO Patrick Pouyan expressed commitment in the Area 1 consortium targeting 2 LNG pipelines on the Afungi Peninsula, drawing from Golfino and Atam reserves by 2024. The second project, Area 4 consortium, with the exploration of the Mamba deposits, which will feed 2 LNG pipelines in the Afungi industrial area by 2024. Now, the president of the Mozambique's National Petroleum Institute, Carlos Zacarias, highlighted that progress on the construction of the extraction and exploration vessel is at over 60%. Work on tow and installation in the Mozambique channels is scheduled for the 2021 mark, and entirely of the LNG to be sold to BP. Progress is ongoing, including installation of tens of kilometers of pipeline on the seafloor that will pump natural gas from the reserve directly to land. This is despite attacks claimed by Islamist militants in the Cabo Delgado region. Now, the coronavirus has been affecting business, but it hasn't been all doom and gloom. The brighter side of the corona outbreak, Amazon.com Incorporated is reportedly considering hiring 100,000 warehouse and delivery workers in the United States. That's to deal with a surge in online orders, as many consumers have turned to the web to meet their needs during the coronavirus outbreak. New hires to staff busy sections and fulfill online orders are being filled by people in the restaurant, the travel and entertainment businesses who are suddenly looking for work because of the coronavirus. U.S. supermarket chains Albertsons, Kroger and Rally's are also hiring extra staff as shoppers clearing out shelves in fear of quarantines or product shortages. Retailers are also racing to keep food and hygiene items in stock and have employees on hand for in-store work or delivery. Major shipper United Parcel Services Incorporated said its trucking and air deliveries were still on despite ongoing government restrictions on commercial activities. It said Monday it was meeting demand with its existing workforce, and the coronavirus, which has led to more than 7,100 deaths globally and prompted mass lockdowns of people, has also led to items being out of stock on Amazon and some deliveries taking longer than usual. The draw new employees, Amazon said it would add $2 to its minimum $15 per hour wage to U.S. workers' wages through the month of April, and the extra pay for hourly employees in North America and Europe is expected to cost more than $350 million. That's to Amazon. Now, Amazon's headcount fluctuates seasonally, recently peaking for the holiday quarter at 798,000 full and part-time workers. It was not immediately clear how many people Amazon would employ after it hires 100,000 more. Now, it was not clear if there would also be any impact on delivery operations from new government restrictions in the San Francisco Bay Area on Monday. Officials saying people must stay at home and except for some essential purposes such as work for business that ship or deliver groceries, food, goods and services to direct residents. Now, you've been watching The Mint. It has been an absolute pleasure. My name is Blessing MUNATSI. Please follow us on our Facebook page, Zim Papers TV Network. Our website is ztn.co.zw and our YouTube under ZTN. Your comments are always welcome via our Twitter handle. That's at ZTN News, and also on Facebook. Join us here on The Mint every weekday mornings, 6 a.m. Central African Time. Wishing you a profitable profitable business day. Goodbye.